You know, in basketball, when the calendar flips to March, you should just expect madness. Apparently, you should expect the same thing in football when the calendar flips to October. The first weekend in October, week 6 of the college football season, was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely unbelievable. And I loved it, as I'm sure many of you out there loved it, unless you were a fan of one of the teams that was on the wrong end of one of these absolutely ridiculous games. 5 top 25 teams went down, 3 of them falling to unranked opponents, 2 of them coming in pretty big and shocking fashion within the top 10. So we are here to break down everything that has happened in week 6. We're here to get you ready for what's going to be an even bigger week 7 right here at the Gridiron Expert. Now let's go ahead and dive into this. We got a lot to break down. Let's start with the frauds. Let's start with the fraudulent teams. And there's been a lot so much throughout this season. There's no doubt about that. But let's start with the teams that were ranked number 1 and number 2 to begin the season. Texas and Penn State. And for me, I went against the AP. Penn State was my number 1 team to start the year. Texas was right behind them at number 2. Penn State's loss to UCLA was by far, I think, the biggest storyline to come out of week 6. And we'll talk about all the other bigger games in a second. But Penn State, you lose the whiteout game last week in heartbreaking double overtime fashion to Oregon. James Franklin still can't win the big games, whatever. You go on the road to UCLA, who was 0-4, had no offense whatsoever. Nico Iamaleava had been playing terrible. The defense was horrendous. Great bounce back spot for you, right? All your goals are still in front of you. You can still make a Big Ten championship. You don't even have to make the Big Ten championship to make a 12-team playoff. Everything's still there right in front of you. And what do? You get down 27-7, and your comeback attempt falls short. You lose 42-37 to the Bruins, who again were 25-point underdogs, winless on the year. UCLA had this season already lost 43-10 to Utah, 35-10 to New Mexico, and just last week only mustered 14 points against Northwestern in a 17-14 loss. And now the Bruins have pulled off one of the biggest, or maybe could end up being the biggest upset of this entire college football season. James Franklin, you're done. You're done. Penn State is done. All right, here's the thing. You look at this. And don't, for any Penn State fans out there, don't get me, oh, well, Tony Rojas, I don't care. One player should not mean that you give up 435 yards to a winless team, including 269 yards on the ground. One player should not mean that Nico Iamaleava, who had been so bad all year long, had 166 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and had 128 rushing yards for 3 touchdowns. Arguably had the best performance of his career because he was mediocre at best at Tennessee, unless he was playing a team like Chattanooga. That's basically what he made Penn State look like on Saturday afternoon. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable what we saw. And there's really no excuse for it. So first off, I want to give a lot of credit to UCLA. This is a team that could have phoned it in. You get rid of Deshaun Foster, you're winless, you've been embarrassed time and time again. You could have rolled over in front of a crowd that was basically non-existent at the Rose Bowl and said, we're going to lose to Penn State, maybe we'll find a win down the road, but they didn't. This team came out firing on all cylinders, probably caught Penn State off guard a little bit, and they didn't let up. So the Bruins deserve a lot of praise for what they did, and especially I want to give them praise for the defensive stand they had in the final minutes. Penn State getting down to the UCLA 9-yard line and then forcing that stop with 40 seconds left. This defense gave up 37 points. I know one of that was a safety at the end of the game, or intentional safety, I should add. But 35 points really to Penn State offensively, and got the stop when it mattered the most. Nico Iamaleava had a heck of a game. He had been bashed by many, including myself, not that he's listening to me, but by so many others. Could have phoned it in and given up, taken his money and walked away. And yet they pull off this win. Now you look at Penn State. This was a team that was loaded with talent, one of those experienced, deepest teams in the country, had national title aspirations. You've got 2 losses now. The one to Oregon, okay, we can get behind that. The one to UCLA, unacceptable. Now look what you've got left. You still have to go to Iowa. You still got to go to Ohio State. You still got a date at home against Indiana. You're not going to win all 3 of those. You're just not. And one more loss probably means you're out of the college football playoff, more than likely. It's going to be hard to see a 3-loss Penn State team getting in there because they certainly aren't making the Big Ten championship now with 2 conference losses. So you can't help but wonder, is this it for James Franklin? This was it. This had to be the year. This felt like the year. A wide open season, loaded with talent, So much senior-led experience, everything lined up for Penn State with a pretty favorable schedule too, and they couldn't capitalize on it. What a win for UCLA. What a letdown for Penn State. And this game really could have marked the end of the James Franklin era. I'm not saying to get fired now, but by season's end, it could be time for them to part ways because it's very clear that he's never going to get over the hump. Talk about Texas. The AP's preseason #1 team, 9th ranked in the country this last Saturday. They lose on the road to Florida. Billy Napier lives to see another day as the Gators win 29-21. And many are going to be quick to point fingers at Arch Manning, all right? And yes, he deserves a lot of criticism. He's not good. He's not the answer. He's very, very bad, I should say. 16 for 29, 263 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, right? That's what he had this last week against Florida. And we saw him struggle against Ohio State, saw him struggle against UTEP. This is clearly not a player that's built to lead Texas to a national championship. Maybe not built to lead Texas at all. But he's not the sole reason that they lost. This Texas defense that was vaunted as being one of the best in the country made DJ Lagway actually look like a good quarterback. Made him look competent. Lagway went 21 for 28 for 298 yards and 2 touchdowns. This guy put on a Heisman Trophy performance just a few weeks removed from throwing 5 interceptions against LSU. If I had to go out there and say something right now, I don't think DJ Lagway is a good quarterback. I don't think that was him, living up to his potential. I think that was because Texas's defense was so ungodly bad, giving up 457 yards to the Gators. So Arch Manning played horribly. The Texas defense played horribly. The Texas run game played horribly. Texas mustered just 52 rushing yards on the day. The Texas special teams was horrible. They had a punt blocked that ended up being a safety for Florida. It was a horrendous day all around. The offensive line played horribly. Couldn't open up running lanes and gave up 6 sacks on the day. So first, credit to Florida, right? DJ Lagway, credit to him. Kind of like Nico. Could have phoned it in. Could have given up. He heard a lot of criticism, but he came in and lit up a top 10 team. Credit to the Florida defense. It really hasn't been bad all year long. They've had a pretty decent defense, and they came and showed it on Saturday afternoon in the Swamp. Shame on Texas. Shame on Texas. Lose to Ohio State in the season opener? Okay, whatever. We can get behind that. That's understandable. It happens. This, you're clearly not a top 10 team. Maybe not even a top 20 team. Maybe not even a top 25 team. And look, you look at the ramifications of a game like this, right? Huge win for Florida, saves Billy Napier's job at least for another week or so, right? But they're still 2-3. Florida's still not going to amount to much, right? It's a big-time win for them. They deserve a lot of credit for their performance. I mean, truly, they really do. But they've still got a very brutal schedule the rest of the way, right? Very brutal schedule where I think they will be fortunate to make a bowl game. Texas, the ramifications for them is they're probably like Penn State going to miss out on the college football playoff. You're 3-2 now, 2 losses by the first weekend of October, and you've got Oklahoma and the Red River next week. John Mateer's back. You better watch out. Texas is going to be in big trouble there. You have to go on the road to Mississippi State, who actually is semi-decent this year. Vanderbilt, who is not afraid of you. Then they have to go on the road to Georgia, and they play Texas A&M, who is a top 10 team right now. Do you think Texas is going to win out? I don't think so. It's going to be very hard to see a 9-3 Texas team getting into the playoff, and that's being generous. That's if they only lose one more time the rest of the way. So the Longhorns in a very, very bad spot. There is a very good chance that, barring a miracle from both these programs, that Penn State and Texas, the teams that were ranked number 1 and number 2 in the AP poll to start the year, will miss out on the college football playoff because of some horrendous play that we've seen within the first 6 weeks. Also, keep in mind, the Nittany Lions nor the Longhorns had defeated a power conference opponent so far this year. All of their wins have come against either FCS or Group of 5 teams. They both failed in their 2 biggest tests, Penn State against Oregon, Texas against Ohio State. Then they get a bounce-back opportunity against 2 very bad teams in UCLA and Florida, and both laid an egg there as well. Crazy stuff, man. But that's the beauty of college football. Assume nothing. Anything can happen on any given Saturday. You are never, ever safe. No matter how good you think you are, no matter what the spread may be, no matter how much of your, how well you recruit, how better talent you have, it doesn't matter. Who your coach is, James Franklin versus Neuheisel, are you kidding me? And Neuheisel out-coached him, I mean, unbelievable. And that's why this is the greatest sport in the entire world. Moving on from that, those are the 2 biggest frauds out there. There's a lot of others. We'll talk more on those in the coming weeks because there will be plenty more. But let's look at Alabama. Let's give Alabama some credit. Give them their flowers. Number 10, Bama getting that win over number 16, Vanderbilt, 30-14. You're lying to yourself if you're an Alabama fan and you weren't feeling a little nervous at halftime or maybe even earlier in the game, right? Vanderbilt struck first, 7-0. Ty Simpson had just thrown his first interception of the year. Then they start driving the ball down the field again, and Vandy's looking to take a 14-0 lead, and Diego Pavia fumbles. And that's what kind of woke Alabama up. And then the game was tied up 14 at halftime. Quick strike from Ty Simpson there to tie the game up was a huge drive. And then the Bama defense really did a phenomenal job in the second half, right? I mean, didn't let them score again, right? Shut out Vanderbilt the rest of the way. And the difference maker really in this game, three difference makers, I think, that differed from Alabama's loss to Vanderbilt last year. Number one, they did well in the turnover battle, right? They won it, right? I mean, that fumble by Diego Pavia was huge, and then forcing an interception off of Pavia. And I believe in the third quarter, they were marching into the red zone and had a chance to take a lead. Alabama picks them off and then goes on a long drive after that. It was massive for the Crimson Tide. So Diego Pavia, who played a great game last year, didn't play that great of a game this year, had two very costly turnovers deep in Alabama territory. Ty Simpson, much better quarterback play for Alabama this year than what we saw from Jalen Milroe last year. Threw his first interception, sure, but went 23 for 31 for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. This guy's the real deal. This guy's the real deal if you didn't know it already. And then the other thing was the fact that Alabama, unlike last year, dominated the time of possession. Vanderbilt dominated the time of possession last year. This year, it was Alabama holding the ball for over 37 minutes. So for over half the game, Alabama possessed the ball. And that big 16-play, 69-yard drive that took over 8 minutes off the clock late in the game, that ultimately gave Alabama a field goal to put them up 9, that was another difference maker. So turnovers, time of possession, great quarterback play, all that contributing to an overall good team win for Alabama, and then adding that late touchdown for good measure to win 30-14. Really a 23-14 win, but Alabama prevailing by 16, getting their revenge in a much-needed win over Vanderbilt, who should really not hang their head much here. You look at Vandy. 3-4 years ago, I say Vanderbilt's going to Tuscaloosa. You go, how much are they going to lose by? 50, 60, 70? The fact they were tied at halftime, the fact this was only a 20-14 game entering the fourth quarter, shows how much Vanderbilt has grown. And we knew this, right? We knew this. I mean, we saw that coming in. So they shouldn't drop much in the rankings. They're not going to drop much in our GE Top 25, I can tell you that. They're going to hang with a lot of other SEC teams across the course of this year, right? They could hang with LSU, maybe even beat LSU in Nashville. I think, next week, 2 weeks from now? They got Texas coming up in a couple of weeks. Like, this is a Vanderbilt team that is going to go bowling and is going to get a couple other big marquee wins on their resume by season's end. And, I mean, it's a stretch, but they're not out of the playoff race yet. They're not out of the SEC title race yet. This is a very, very good football team that was really a couple bad turnovers away from maybe even winning this game in Tuscaloosa. So nothing to hang their head on, but again, credit for Alabama for finding a way to win, for not, coming out flat after their big-time win on the road at Georgia. The Crimson Tide looking really, really good right now. Their lone loss, again, back in week 1 against Florida State, that's looking like an afterthought, but the loss to Miami for Florida State, certainly not an afterthought for them. Look, the Seminoles look bad. I almost put them on my fraud alert, right? I don't think this is that good of a football team. And I didn't think they were even after the Alabama win. Why isn't Florida State in your top 10? How dare you not put Florida State in your top 10? And I was like, I'm not buying the hype yet. Last week against Virginia, proved me right. This week against Miami, proved me right. Florida, you look at the score. If you're just scrolling through your phone, you see it was a 28-22 game. You go, wow, that was a good, close football game. It wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. Miami let their foot off the gas, got very conservative, got very lazy in the fourth quarter. Miami was leading that game 28-3 in the fourth quarter, did not allow a touchdown until 10 minutes left in the game. Florida State had a very quick little rally over the final 10 minutes, tried to make it look good, kicked that onside kick with about 20 seconds left, hoping for a miracle, couldn't get it, but Miami dominated that game from start to finish, right? And someone's going to say, well, Florida State outgained them. Right, Florida State outgained them strictly in the fourth quarter. That fourth quarter is what sent them over the edge in the box score, but Miami had complete control of that game pretty much from start to finish. The Hurricanes have a case to maybe be the number 1 team in the country. They got a great resume. Win on the road at Florida State, got the win over Notre Dame, got the win over USF. The Hurricanes are looking really, really good. Carson Beck, 241 yards, 4 touchdowns. Malachi Tony is one of the best freshmen in the entire country, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. I mean, this is a dang good football team that really doesn't appear to have any weaknesses. And their defense was great, shutting down the number one offense in the entire country. Again, for pretty much over three quarters, for Florida State had a little fourth quarter rally. This is a dangerous Canes team, guys, that in my book, in my eyes, again, assume nothing in the world of college football. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but essentially punched their ticket to the college football playoff, barring an epic collapse. They're 5-0. Their toughest tests remaining are Louisville, at SMU, and at Pittsburgh. Really don't see them maybe losing any of those. And if they do, they're certainly not losing more than one of them. This looks like a team that's pretty much set up to make the playoff one way or another. Florida State is 3-2. Back-to-back losses to Virginia and Miami. Not a bad loss because, Virginia just beat Louisville, so the Cavaliers might be the real deal. But they've still got to go on the road to Clemson, on the road to NC State, on the road to Florida. So the hopes of maybe making the national or the college football playoff, I think that may have been dashed. And certainly they appear to have quite a bit of weaknesses. The defense wasn't great against Virginia last week, wasn't great against Miami this week. The offense clearly can be stifled against decent defenses. The Seminoles will bounce back, but playoff bound, probably not going to be the case, which I know is not what people thought about a month ago when they upset Alabama. Final thing I want to talk about. Cincinnati, let's give them credit real quick. We got their helmet up there. They deserve some praise. They beat number 14 Iowa State 38-30, handing the Cyclones their first loss of the season and creating more chaos within the Big 12. That might be the most entertaining conference to watch for the rest of the season. The Bearcats led 17-0 after the first quarter. Iowa State tried battling back 31-22 entering the fourth quarter. And I really, Cincinnati deserves a lot of credit. 474 yards of offense, 260 of those yards coming on the ground, where they averaged 7.6 yards per carry. The Cyclones defense had no answer for them whatsoever. So Cincy's a dangerous team and a dangerously balanced team offensively. But Iowa State shot themselves in the foot way too many times, right? They had 3 turnovers on downs, one at the Cincinnati 30, one at the Cincinnati 33, another at the Cincinnati 16, and they had a missed field goal on top of that. My goodness, if you just give them a field goal on all 4 of those possessions that we just talked about, they win the game 42-38. Heck, even just 3 of those, they win 39-38, right? So Iowa State missed a lot of opportunities to win this game, but ultimately they got off to a too bad of a start, dug themselves too deep in a hole, couldn't crawl out of it. The defense couldn't do their job. I know they were down a couple corners, just couldn't get it done. Now Cincinnati is undefeated in conference play, 2-0. They just got that big win over Kansas the week prior. They're 4-1 on the year. They're legitimate Big 12 title contenders. They could be this year's dark horse, right? It's a wide open conference. Texas Tech's probably the favorite. Utah's still in the mix. Iowa State certainly still in the mix. But Cincinnati has already beat Kansas. They have already beat Iowa State. They avoid Texas Tech. They avoid Arizona State. The Bearcats could be for real, guys. Do not sleep on them. Do not sleep on the Big 12. It's going to be a very fun finish over really the next full 2 months of the entire season. So, man, I'll tell you, October Madness, maybe we coin it. It was a great start to the month, right? First weekend of October, and this is what we get. 2 massive top 10 upsets. A Big 12 contender goes down. A new one emerges in Cincinnati. We see a big-time rivalry game go Miami's way. Florida State maybe kind of falling off the radar a little bit. But let me tell you something. If you thought Week 6 was great, if you thought this week was awesome, you haven't seen anything yet. Next week is insane. We got the Red River, Oklahoma and Texas. We got Ohio State at Illinois, Alabama at Missouri, Indiana at Oregon is going to be a top 10 matchup. Florida, Texas A&M, Georgia, Auburn, Michigan, USC, South Carolina, LSU, Arizona State, Utah. Next week's slate, absolutely insane. And what comes with insanity? Lots of upsets, lots of close games, insane storylines, insane performances. It's going to be unbelievable this season. Really, we're in the back half now. We're in the back half of the season. Second half of the season really just now getting started. Going to be 10 times better than what we saw in the first half. 10 times crazier, 10 times more unpredictable, which is going to make our life and our job a lot more fun here at the Gridiron Expert. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here, again, at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, where we just hit over 60% of our bets in Week 6. Another winning week here at the channel. If you don't sign up, you're missing out. Bottom line is, the longer you wait to sign up, the more you miss out on. Hurry up, sign up today. The link for that down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.